Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. It's Friday the 25th of September. Thanks again for watching. Hope you're sitting comfortably. This is going to be quite a long and, I have to say, quite an uncomfortable video to watch today. You know that I'm a fence-sitting skeptic when it comes to climate change. I kind of sway between the two and look at the various evidence, and I sometimes say that, yeah, it looks as if the evidence is mounting up one way, and then we get a few papers come out that suggest it's the other way as well. So, kind of on balance, I kind of have sat in the middle for a long time. However, over the last couple of years, I've been posting a little bit more about some of the research that's been released suggesting and backing up the idea of human-induced climate change. And I want to show you a few charts, actually, that kind of back up those thoughts as well. This is a press release put out by the National Snow and Ice Data Centre about Arctic sea ice reaching its fourth lowest extent in the satellite record. Now, you have to bear in mind that that satellite record goes back to 1979, so it's not exactly that far. It's only going back, not even 40 years yet. But the fact that the Arctic sea ice is doing that is something that we do need to take notice of. Of course, it's a very, very small window of time when you compare it back to the Earth altogether. But that's what the records are showing. And this is a graph of Arctic sea ice extent going back to 1979 using the averages. And you notice here, look, that this grey line is the average. That's where you would expect sea ice to be. These are the standard deviations, the grey shading either side. This is where we've been this year. That's the record of 2012, but notice that we've been outside those standard deviations, heading down again towards the record levels of sea ice extent. And just taking a look at plotted this year against recent years, and 2011, 2012 were both years that saw less ice, but this is the fourth one in the record. So interesting to note how many of those years when we've had such a reduced extent of sea ice in the Arctic have occurred recently. Temperatures look like this through the course of the years, so they haven't exactly deviated too much from the mean. You see there the red line that's almost tracking the mean. Yeah, they came up above freezing a little bit earlier than would be usual, and a little bit later than would be usual as well. But generally, they've tracked around normal, and the fact that they've done that is kind of a little bit worrying in itself. This is the latest sea surface temperature anomalies for the Arctic. This was taken yesterday, so 24th of September. And notice the red colours here, look, just circling the Arctic. So showing us such an anomaly affecting the whole of the Arctic area. And really you have to come down into the Atlantic to get to an area where temperatures are below normal, and to that area to the west of the UK. But you can just see how much warmer than normal it is up there in the Arctic at the moment. This is the sea ice plotted against the usual anomaly. So the anomaly, basically where we would expect sea ice to be, is the orange line that you see going around the outsides there. You can see how much it's retreated back from where it should be. And, you know, like I say, you can't argue with data. I keep telling you this all the way through whenever we look at information that comes out, and whether that comes from the Met Office, whether it comes from our newspapers, wherever it comes from, I always say to you, go back, look at the data, look at the statistics. And I'm afraid that with that Arctic sea ice data, you can't argue with it. Antarctic sea ice data as well. Well, that's despite starting the year above normal, we saw it come back into below normal levels during August, and then it rose again in September. It's just come back below average levels now. There's the record set in 2014, but it's hovering around about normal. And of course, what we've been used to seeing is something more like this, where the Arctic has been showing a reduction in sea ice extent, but the Antarctic showed a converse increase in sea ice extent. And that actually is conducive to, or rather backs up, global warming theory. So that's what you would expect to see. There's the anomaly map, exactly the same as we saw for the Arctic. You can see here that we've lost some off the ice sheet here, but we've gained some over here. So overall, running around about the mean in the Antarctic. Now, as far as sea ice extent is concerned, this is the prediction from the CFS for the next, well, it's getting on for the next 9 months. Yeah, I know it's a prediction for 9 months, but it's useful to see. Notice how it's predicted to rise, but we constantly stay below the, or rather, we constantly stay below average throughout this forecast period, which is something that you would expect given global temperatures as they are at the moment. Now, add that into the land and ocean temperatures that we've seen through June to August, and this is a map that I don't think I've shown you this yet. This is June through to August, so this was the summer months, and basically it's temperature percentiles. So what it's showed us is NOAA's assessment of that period, and whether temperatures were above average, whether they're below average. And where we see these red herb boxes, they're record warmest temperatures. Where we see the blue boxes are coldest temperatures, but you notice that there was no record cold. Yes, some places were much cooler than average, here and here. Some were cooler than average here and here. But the vast majority are in this category here, from warmer than average, through much warmer than average, through to the record warmest. I have to say that's one of the most dramatic charts I've seen in a long time. And when we're talking about records with NOAA, we're not talking about some arbitrary figure going back to 1912. We're talking about data going back into the latter stages of the 19th century. So they're comparing records going back a long way. So that says, doesn't it, how warm things have been. That's the anomaly so far for September. Now, this always underestimates, this is produced from the GFS, and it always underestimates the anomalies, but this is from the excellent Carl Housteen site. And what it's shown us is a global anomaly through September, plus 0.34. Now, you can almost double it by the time the data comes out. So you're looking at a 0.6, 0.7 again. So once again, September is a warm month, and we've already, from January to September, already in record warmth through that period by quite some margin as well. So overall, things pretty damn warm out there, and that way across the whole of the world at the moment. What concerns me? Well, this concerns me. The cold water towards the west of the UK. That's something we need to be sitting up and taking notice of. There are so many signals now coming through that back up climate change theory and what was predicted. Of course, there are natural cycles occurring underneath as well, but I just can't ignore the fact that what was predicted, lots of these boxes are now being ticked. I think it's something we really need to watch. And I guess that one of the good things to come out of the diesel scare story that's kind of doing the rounds at the moment, and it's something you know that I've written on about on WeatherWeb for several years, actually one of the good parts of that may be more of an awareness of climate change and the communication of the climate change story, because diesel, the fumes, something we can see, we can smell, whereas with climate change it's not. But actually, for me, climate change is pretty much that map. If you want to go on climate change and warming, that is it. Okay, right. Hopefully, I haven't depressed you too much. But let's have a look at what the weeks ahead are looking like from the CFS. You know that we're going into a dry period now, don't you? So this is week 1. There's our higher than normal heights as predicted across the country. I'm quite proud of myself, really, because we did say that we'd see high pressure building around the 24th, 25th, and that's kind of what's gone on. There's week 2. Shows the higher than normal heights up towards the north, getting squeezed away from the south by these lower than normal heights getting in through parts of northern Europe. That's this suggestion that we see this breakdown coming in. We could see something at the end of next week, perhaps, coming in on the easterly, which is going to be pretty strong and feel pretty cold across the eastern coast. But western areas, the stronger that easterly, the warmer it's going to feel. But with that easterly, with that low coming into the south, may see some sort of breakdown, particularly towards the end of this period. And then into week 3, higher than normal heights off towards the east. Got a trough trying to get into the west. Again, these kind of hints of a breakdown trying to get in. Stop-start, as I think I told you yesterday. And then week 4, well, the CFX really wants to get back into the high and get it back in again. I actually think it's a breakdown into westerly, more unsettled conditions. But what do I know? There are plenty of other forecasts, actually, that go with that high idea building back in. But I'm just watching the period for the break that takes us into strong westerlies and unsettled conditions into November. But as I say, there are forecasts out there that suggest the high kind of holds on. Globally, that's how things are shaping up for the next couple of weeks. Very warm conditions across the northern parts of the states. You see there, just a glance at the map again, shows how many warm areas we have. Colder than normal, though, across the central parts of Russia. This is interesting here, down through Australia. Look, just see how cool it is down there. And it stays that way, look, into week 2 as well. Yeah, we get the south warming up, but cooler than normal across northern parts of Australia. And into week 2, the US is staying warm as well. But just look how cool Europe becomes from here into here. And also these maps as well, picking out the warmth of the El Nino there in the ocean. So hopefully I haven't kind of worried you too much with that sort of stuff. But I think it's important to show you that things look pretty warm. I'm going to leave you with that for now, because I've rabbited on enough. No doubt there'll be many of you who want to argue with me for some of the statements I've made through that video. But as I say, that's the data. You can't argue with the data. I'll leave you with that for now, but whatever you're doing, thanks again for watching. Don't forget, if you want a forecast for the next couple of days, then check out our fast forecast. And if you want us to email you when this video is updated, just send us an email to generalweather-subscribe@weatherweb.net. Okay, leave you with that for now, whatever you're doing. Thanks again for watching. Keep the sun shining, and bye for now.